What is going on, everybody? How you doing? Welcome to another episode of Talking Buffalo, your weekday daily driver for Buffalo sports talk and more. My name is Patrick Moran. Thank you so much for watching, for listening. However you consume this podcast, I truly, truly appreciate all of you. Big shout out to both of our sponsors, Imperial Pizza, Sunny Reds, two of my favorite spots in town. They have been incredibly supportive of this show. Please, please, please get out there and support them as well. Not just because they're involved with this podcast, but also they are just straight up two of the best places to go hang out, eat, drink, chill, vibes of anywhere. Not just in Buffalo, but of all of Western New York. Imperial Pizza, Sunny Reds. This is our Friday episode. We're going to review, or preview, I should say, Bills, Panthers. The Bills are off their bye, trying to avoid a 3-game losing streak. Carolina is trying to add to a 3-game winning streak. Sunday, 1 p.m. We'll get into it in just a minute. A preview, 3 keys to a Bills victory like I do before every game, 5 bold predictions like I do every game, and ultimately, I am going to take a stab at what the final score will be. I'm not going to waste your time here with, I'll give you a spoiler. I'm picking the Bills to win. The real question is, do I pick the Bills to cover what I believe anyway is a 7.5 point spread? Recording this Thursday mid-afternoon-ish. I got to put out there just to let you know, in case some news significance breaks that not covering on the show, because that's when I had the time to record. So there's that. I'm also interrupting my binge of Netflix season 2. Nobody Wants This. I really enjoyed. I've loved the first season. Caught me by surprise. The new season just dropped, so I'm kind of binging that. By the time you listen to this, I'm sure I'll be done with that. Also, if you follow me on social, I did do a review of HBO Max, their limited series Task. That's up on the socials, Insta, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, all over the place, basically. I'm going to be doing a lot of that beyond just sports. Like these 3-minute reviews, TV shows, movies, series, food, games, whatever the hell I feel like having thoughts on. I'm going to do a series. It's called TV and 180. So they're reviews that are done in 3 minutes or less. And I understand, especially me yapping there at the top, there's a small, and hopefully it's a real small minority of people that are bitching and saying, you know what, I came here, I want to hear football. To that, I say tough shit. I really do. There's a podcast, man. Podcasts are meant to be conversational. And from time to time, I forget that. This isn't WGR 550. This isn't just a straight sports talk show. This is more about personality, getting to know people, having conversations. You know, whether I have a guest on the show, which I usually do, or whether I'm doing a solo show and I'm talking directly to you, the listener. I like to engage. I like to let you know what's going on in my life. I'm interested in knowing what's going on in your life, especially if you're a regular listener to this show. Like, let me know, man. What are you into? When you're not watching the Bills, when you're not watching the Sabres, when you're not watching sports, what are you watching? What are you into? I'd love to know that, man. Let me know if it's on the video side in the comments, or you could tweet at me, send me an email, talkingbuffalopodcast@gmail.com. What are your hobbies, man? What do you get into when you are not watching the Bills? Let me know. Like I said, kind of conversational stuff. That's what this podcast ultimately was supposed to be about. And I'm going to get back to that more and more and more. This is not just a straight from beginning to end Buffalo Bills talk show. I hope that it's more than that to you. Anyway, before we get to Bills Panthers preview, and I am excited about this game, by the way, a lot more than I thought I would be a handful of weeks ago. Maybe not for the best reasons because of the way the Bills have played going into the bye, but I am excited to see the Bills return to action after what I think is a much-needed bye. But before that, real quick, before we get into Bills Panthers, got to throw some props out to the Buffalo Sabres. Buffalo Sabres went out on Wednesday night, faced a Detroit Red Wings team that had come in winning 5 in a row. And the Sabres, even with the injuries, man, they handled business. They are playing some pretty good hockey lately, and a couple really cool plot points from that game as well, especially the goaltender. That was awesome. If you watch the broadcast especially, you would feel it, man. Colton Ellis, the rookie, made his NHL debut, 27 saves. I thought he was magnificent, but that's not even the coolest part. The coolest part for him anyway, not just getting the victory or that the Sabres won the game, but the cool part was seeing his parents, especially his mom. They cut to her on the TNT broadcast a lot. She was in the stands in Buffalo. Dad was in the stands. I think I saw 17 family and friends were in the stands, all getting to see him live out his dream. So I thought that shit was awesome. What a great story that was to watch unfold. But anyway, he was great. Jack Quinn, much maligned, especially by me. Jack Quinn, he had a 3-point night. He was awesome. Certainly did not see that coming. And I'll tell you right now, the Sabres are 3-4 despite all the injuries. I mean, Josh Norris got hurt in the first game. They still haven't seen Kesselring yet, who was the focal point of the trade alongside Doan for J.J. Peterka, which, by the way, very, very early, and we'll see. But if Kesselring plays the way he did in Utah, this is going to end up being a fleecing for Kevin Adams because Josh Doan is the real deal. But anyway, he's injured. Greenway's still out. UPL hasn't played this year. Lots of injuries for the Sabres, but they're 3-4. And beyond the injuries, they said it on the TNT broadcast last night or on Wednesday night. Tage and Dowdle have just been all right so far. It's not even like the Sabres are 3-4 and Dowdle and Tage are really carrying them on their backs of these wins that they've picked up early on. It's been a true, legit group effort. Love it. And, not to throw any shade at the team-produced broadcast on MSG that we watch most games. It's fun. But it was really refreshing to watch the TNT broadcast. I thought it was great. Very objectively critical of the Sabres because they're not looking at it from our team point of view. The analyst in the second period called out Tage and Dowdle essentially for being lazy on a Detroit goal. I loved it, man. I'll be watching more of those TNT broadcasts in the future. Anyway, really cool stuff going on with the Sabres right now. It's fun to see them not completely suck. Let's just put it that way. Big home and home this weekend. Toronto tonight, Friday night, and then Saturday back in Toronto. That should be a lot of fun. Anyway, back to the Bills. Bills, Panthers on Sunday. The Bills have lost 2 in a row. The Bills have not lost 3 in a row since you'd have to go back to 2018 when Derek Anderson and the great Nate Peterman were the Bills' starting quarterbacks when they lost to Houston, Indy, New England, and Chicago, a 4-game losing streak back in 2018. And again, spoiler alert, I don't think they're going to get to 3 games this time either. I'm going to tell you right here at the top, I am almost strangely confident right now that you're going to see the best game from the Buffalo Bills that they've played this year to date. And we'll talk about that throughout the show. Let's start with Carolina, okay? Again, they've won 3 in a row, but, just like the Bills have been widely criticized because of who they beaten this season, 1 win Baltimore, despite all, they're a good team, but all the injuries. But, the Jets, Miami, the Saints. Well, it's kind of been the same deal with Carolina. They won 3 in a row, but those 3 wins were against Miami, Dallas, a Dallas team without CeeDee Lamb, by the way, and the New York Jets this past week. So it's easy to not take them serious at all. But on the other hand, the Bills really struggled and played like shit a couple weeks ago against Atlanta and lost, paid the price. Well, Atlanta went to Carolina a handful of weeks ago, and Carolina beat the shit out of them 30-0. They beat the Atlanta Falcons 30-0. And guess what? Bijan Robinson played that game. Drake London played that game. 2 guys who absolutely terrorized the Buffalo Bills defense. They played in that game and they did not do jack shit against the Carolina Panthers. So that's something to keep in mind. This is not a pushover football team. This is not the same Carolina team, at least I feel like anyway, over these past, few seasons. So be wary. When it comes to quarterback, we don't know what's going on. Is it going to be Bryce Young or is it going to be Andy Dalton? It's probably going to be Andy Dalton, though as of this recording, at least as of this recording anyway, that is not official. Bryce Young got a high ankle sprain last week in their win over the New York Jets. And, quite frankly, statistically anyway, if you look at the box score, and maybe he's playing better beyond the box score, but when you look at the stats, Bryce Young's been kind of shitty this season. 1,288 passing yards, a 61.6 completion percentage, which is not good. 11 touchdowns, but he's also thrown 5 interceptions. He's been sacked 11 times. He's only ran for 69 yards. When you look at him metrically, he's 31st out of 34 quarterbacks in yards per attempt. He's 25th in completion percentage. He's 31st in EPA per pass. So metrically, he's kind of sucked. And from Carolina fans that I've talked to, or that I've seen on social media, and let me be honest, I don't know any Carolina fans that I personally talk to. So let me retract that first statement. From seeing what I've seen on social media, at least anyway, from a lot of Carolina fans, if Bryce Young doesn't play, and that's kind of what the expectation is, it doesn't sound to me like a lot of Panthers fans are upset about that. I think they want to see Andy Dalton. And, Bills fans are very, very familiar, of course, with Andy Dandy Dalton, man. He could sling the football. We know what he is. He can light it up. He can also look absolutely, positively horrible out there and make it easy for a defense to have a big day. So where do you go as a preference? Well, it doesn't really matter, I suppose. If you're a serious team, if you are a contender, if you've lost 2 in a row and you have a bye week to prepare for a football team, and I kind of feel like if you're serious about, this defense looking better this week and beyond, well, then you're not going to go out there and you're not going to let Bryce Young and you're not going to let Andy Dalton go out there and carve you up. That just can't happen. It can't happen. Simple as that. In terms of injuries, it looks really good on the Carolina side. Young's the only DNP these past couple days. Team's pretty much close to full strength. Injuries aren't going to be a big factor. And especially, again, if you think Andy Dalton would be an upgrade from Bryce Young anyway. The strength of the Carolina Panthers is not throwing the football. The strength of the Carolina Panthers this season has been running the football. They run it great. Rico, Dowdle, and Chuba Hubbard have been really, really good. 551 yards for Dowdle's third in the NFL in rushing, by the way. 5.6 yards per carry. By comparison, James Cook's been awesome for the Bills, and James Cook has averaged 5 yards per carry. So Dowdle's been great. Chuba was hurt, came back last week. Was a workhorse, kind of like, for now anyway, sort of a platoon situation, but 67 carries, 248 yards for the season for him. I expect him to get ramped up again. A nice 1-2 punch at running back that could do a lot of damage. As a team, Carolina is third in the NFL in rushing yards per game. By the way, the Bills are first. They're eighth in yards per carry. They're fourth in EPA per rush. And they're second in rushing attempts. So don't be surprised, and it shouldn't be surprised when Carolina comes out on Sunday and they try to establish a line of scrimmage and run the ball down the Buffalo Bills' throat. And when they throw the ball, McMillan is a good, young, really good, young-looking receiver. 53 targets this year, 30 receptions, 413 yards, 2 touchdowns, 12.5 air yards per target. Xavier Legette, a guy that a lot of people, including me, were high on last year during the draft process. Not going to lie, he was one of a handful of guys that I wanted the Bills to take over Keon Coleman. Now, in fairness to the Bills, Leggett has done anything but light it up. Just pointing it out there. He's a guy to keep your eye on. But, so he's out there too. So that in a nutshell is the Carolina offense. Defensively, Derek Brown leads the way. He's really good. Interior guy, 3 sacks, 2 tackles for a loss. Forget about the stats. He's a great defender. Deshaun Warden is a solid interior defender as well. It's not easy to run on the Panthers. The Panthers are 8th in rushing yards allowed per game, 8th best, I should say, rushing yards per game allowed. They're 7th best in EPA per rush. So they're pretty good at stopping the run, going against a Buffalo team that really has been good at running the football, and I'm positive that they want to get back to that going into this game. When you get to the secondary, it's all right, but it's led by cornerback Jaycee Horn. He's already got 3 interceptions this season. He is, without question, one of the best young corners right now in the entire National Football League. Let's take a quick break, come back, we'll hit up on the Bills, we'll get the keys to victory, bowl predictions, and a final score pick. All right, Bills-Panthers preview here. We talked about the Panthers, talk a little bit about the Bills. In terms of injuries, everything was the same on Thursday that it was on Wednesday. Daquan Jones, Josh Palmer are week to week. Undoubtedly, they will be out for at least this game, very likely more than that. Taylor Rapp did not practice on Wednesday or Thursday. Highly doubt you're going to see him play on Sunday. Of course, just like a lot of Carolina fans are kind of like, yeah, I'd rather have Andy Dalton out there. I know there's a lot of Bills fans, including this dude right here, who says maybe this defense would be better off without the Taylor Rapp, at least the version they've seen from him anyway. He's got a knee injury. We'll see how things play out. How quickly he's back might depend on how Jordan Poyer and or Jordan Hancock look out there on Sunday. So those are kind of like week-to-week guys. Day-to-day guys right now, they've been limited at practice both Wednesday and Thursday. Terrell Bernard, Matt Milano, Dalton Kincaid, Curtis Samuel, all limited at practice the last 2 days. Terrell Bernard with an ankle. Everything I've heard indications is that he should be good to go and play. And I certainly hope he steps his game up because he has been borderline lousy so far, at least by his standards, through the first 6 weeks. Matt Milano, of course, with the ongoing, lingering pec issue. My understanding is of these 4 guys, there's a good chance that all 4 of them play, but if there's one that may not be back on Sunday, it possibly could be Matt Milano. Still, from accounts that I've heard, looks just a wee bit little tentative doing certain things. But again, let's be clear. It's midweek right now, and a lot could change by Sunday. Don't be surprised whatsoever if he's out there playing. Dalton Kincaid coming back from an oblique injury. Again, limited. I think that's a little more precautionary. I would be very surprised, and it would be very detrimental to the Bills' offense if he didn't play. And then Curtis Samuel, I guess you can look at it from he had a neck and ribs that forced him to miss the Atlanta game. And this week on the injury report, he's been limited because of only the ribs. So that's encouraging. Hopefully he'll be out there. And I'll tell you, I've talked about it plenty over the last 10 days throughout this Bills bye week. Say what you will about Curtis Samuel. Laugh all you want about the injuries and him just never being available. But I'll tell you what, watching the film, this guy gets open. This guy gets open. And if he could be out there and he could play, especially with Josh Palmer out, I feel like they need Curtis Samuel more. I think him playing is a bigger addition than some people are giving credit for. Now, it won't affect this game on Sunday, but of course, the big Bills practice news this week is Max Harrison has been back, full-on go at practice. Of course, he's definitely not going to play this week. I'd be really surprised if he plays next week against Kansas City either. Maybe the following week, which would be the end of his practice window, he gets activated before the Miami game. We'll see how that plays out, but you're not going to count on Max Harrison for anything in this game specifically. Wish you could, because maybe he could help. The defense has been a mess. It's been a mess statistically. It's been a mess metrically. They're 15th in pass pressure percentage, which is actually, compared to everything else they've done this year, middle of the pack, 15th is pretty good. They're 26th in EPA per rush. They're 23rd in EPA allowed per pass. They're 19th in EPA allowed per play. They're 26th in opponent quarterback pass completion percentage. They're 31st in allowing 10 or more rushing yards on a play. I mean, these stats are just terrible. They're horrible. And does Bobby Babbage deserve some blame? Sure, of course he does. He make better calls. But to me, do injuries play a role? 100%. Matt Milano's been out twice this year. Ed Oliver's only played 2 games. It's okay to say injuries are a factor because they've been a factor, at least on some levels. But to me, that pales in comparison to the big problem with the Bills' defense this year. And that's just straight up stars. Their star players, their best players on defense, they just ain't playing that good, man. Their star players are not playing like star players. That's what it is. Terrell Bernard, like I said a few minutes ago, I think he's been lousy this year. He's the captain of the team. There's only 2 on the team, and he's one of the captains. Just got an extension. Christian Benford shut down City the last couple years. He's been living on Pedestrian Parkway this season because he's just been all right. He's been very pedestrian by his standards. Again, a big extension, and I still love that extension. Don't get me wrong. And I'm not down on any of these guys, by the way. They're just playing like shit, so let's call it out. Benford has been, by his standards, very pedestrian. Teron Johnson, he's just a jag. I hate that term. God, I hate using that term. Just another guy, jag. But that's what he's been. 2 years ago, an all-pro corner. Literally an all-pro slot corner. Right now, if he went down and Cam Lewis came in, I don't feel like I'm missing all that much. That shouldn't be the case. Teron Johnson, a couple years ago, felt irreplaceable when he'd go out. Like when Teron Johnson would get hurt, and the way he plays football lends to him getting banged up. But when Teron would go off the field, I'd be like, man, his defense is going to take such a big freaking hit. They're going to suffer so bad. Right now, I'm like, oh, well, that kind of sucks. Cam Lewis, okay. That's how I feel right now. So he's got to step up. Greg Rizzo. And I know there's a lot of Greg Rizzo truthers out there, and I get it. The old Jerry Hughes formula. Well, you only look at sacks. You judge a whole book by looking at sacks. You know what? If you're making $20 million a year at the end of the day and you got 1.5 sacks and 2 tackles for a loss in 6 games, you're not playing well enough. He was beast mode against the Patriots, and he looked pretty good to an extent against Atlanta. But I need that or more every week. Again, this is a $20 million a year guy, okay? If A.J. Epinesa played like Greg Rizzo, I'd be like, all right, that's fine. Former second-round pick, 2-year deal, $7.5 million a year. That's not bad. Pretty acceptable production. But Greg Rizzo, your first-round pick, a guy that you just gave a $80 million over 4-year deal to, I need to see more. I don't care about, well, some stuff you don't see on film. I want to see shit on film. I don't need to look at the film. I want the casual, average Buffalo Bills fan to say, holy shit, man, that number 50 out there is making some plays. He's getting guys in the backfield for a loss. He's sacking the quarterback. He's forcing fumbles. I want to see that. More of it anyway. More of it. Bernard, Benford, Teron, Groot, all subpar. Matt Milano can't stay on the field. He's pretty good when he's out there. He's not the Matt Milano of old, but he's pretty good. Can't stay on the field. Again, impactful players that are not playing like it. And look, I just did it myself. This defense is getting dragged a lot, right? I get it. But the bottom line is the Bills would literally still be undefeated right now if the offense had scored 25 points in each of these last 2 games. They scored 30 or more the first 4 games, just like it felt like they did every year last week. In fact, or last season, set an NFL record, 8 straight games with 30 points last year. But they've struggled the last couple of weeks, and even when they got to 30 the first 4 games, didn't feel great. Not like it did last year anyway. But the last couple of weeks have not been good. 25 points or more, and the Bills might be 6-0 right now. James Cook's been the one constant. He's been fantastic. He's 4th in the NFL in rushing, and the only thing that I can say about James Cook is that get him more touches. Simple as that. He's been the most consistently good player on the team this season. And that includes Josh Allen. James Cook has been the most consistently good Buffalo Bill on the team this season, and I'm including Josh Allen. Josh Allen's the best player on the team. Josh Allen has levels that no one else has on this team, or maybe even the league for that matter. But he's been a little shaky up and down, and James Cook has just been consistently great. Dalton Kincaid, assuming he can return on Sunday, he's going to be huge for the Bills. You felt his absence in a big way in that Atlanta game. 20 catches, 287 yards, 3 touchdowns in 5 games. Big for him to be back. All right, 3 keys to a Buffalo Bills victory. Number one, we talked about it. Carolina really is going to want to run the football. They're going to want to have success on early downs. They want to get into manageable second and thirds for what's almost certainly going to be Andy Dalton on Sunday. So, to me, a big Bills key is to put the Carolina Panthers behind the chains on those early downs. And I know that's easier said than done. Again, Dowdle, Hubbard, they're going to run. Borderline sellout on their early downs. Get guys up in the box, run blitzes, schemes, confuse, get in those gaps, make plays. Early down success is going to be big here, man. Get Carolina in second and long or third and long so that these guys can tee off. I don't think Carolina could have any kind of sustainable, successful offense if it's going to be constantly 3rd and 7 or 2nd and 8. So I think that's incredibly important. Don't, or I should say, force them to get behind the sticks. Number 2, talked about James Cook just a couple of minutes ago. And I talked about my biggest issue is that he's not getting enough touches. I don't necessarily, especially in this game, I want to see the start of something different. I don't necessarily need to see James Cook get more carries with the football. What I do need to see is I need to see James Cook and Ty Johnson, and I did just say Ty Johnson, especially after going back and watching film from last year. Those guys need to be more involved again in the passing game. Go back to week 1. James Cook, Baltimore runs a blitz. Josh Allen gets it out to James Cook on the right-hand side. It's a 5, 6, 7-yard gain maybe. James Cook, being a great player that he is, he forces Marlon Humphrey to miss a tackle, and the next thing you know, it's a 51-yard running catch. Saw some plays similar to that from James Cook over the last few years. Then I go back. In fact, I threw it on Twitter. I kind of wish I could throw it on this video. For some reason, the NFL is getting really stingy. If you put up film like on YouTube or something, they're going to strike it down. At least they have for me. But anyway, I went back. I watched a lot of Ty Johnson film from last year, and it reminded me. This is a guy who had 33-yard catch against the Dolphins. It was a wheel route where he cooked Jalen Ramsey. This is a guy who had a 41-yard touchdown against the Rams. He snuck out of the left side of the backfield, made somebody miss, took it to the house. And this is a guy who had 5 catches for 114 yards against Detroit. 3 big catches in that football game in a variety of ways. Where's this shit now? Ty Johnson's got 2 catches for 7 yards this season. James Cook has under 30 yards receiving in his last 5 games combined. It's just unacceptable to me, and that is a Joe Brady thing. I really hope, as much as anything else, we could sit there and we talk about Keon Coleman, and is he any good? Is he a bust? Does he need to be in the slot? Can he never get open? Yada, yada, yada. Josh Palmer hurt again. Curtis Samuel can never stay on the field. Khalil Shakir, he hasn't really done all that much. This thing, that thing, and they're all true, But to me, getting the running back involved in the passing game is an element that this team's just flat out not doing. And last year, a lot of the success that the Bills had, and I just pointed some of it out to you, had to do with the passing game directly involving the running backs. So a key to me is remembering that coming off the bye. If they're going to tee off and blitz you into death and try to beat you in a submission like Atlanta was doing to some extent successfully on Monday Night Football a couple weeks ago, make them pay. Find ways. Get Ty Johnson out there, bubble screen or quick out or whatever it's going to be. James Cook, and let these guys get the ball in their hand and make some plays. Ensure or have confidence that they can make you miss some tackles. So that's key number 2. And then key number 3 is just simply Josh Allen. Josh Allen definitively playing like the better quarterback on the field that he absolutely is. And I know that typically sounds like a foregone conclusion. And more times than not, it is when Josh Allen's involved. I mean, how many football games have you left and you said, I don't think Josh Allen was the best quarterback on the field this game? Not often. Not often. But the last 2 games, that's kind of been the case. Like, Penix was as good or, I should say, decent as Josh Allen. Compliment to Penix, not to Josh Allen. And I think Drake May, not that Josh played terrible against New England, but I think Drake May just straight up outplayed him a couple weeks ago. That game in Atlanta, especially when you watch it back, Josh Allen was pretty lousy. I mean, 15 of 26 for 180 yards, 2 touchdowns, but 2 picks. Got sacked 4 times, couple crappy throws, under siege a lot, holding the ball. That's not the Josh Allen that the Bills need. Last year, Josh hit that kind of stretch where he was pretty good, not great, but pretty good. And then all of a sudden he went nuclear, like Kansas City, Frisco, the Rams, Detroit, like that stretch. He played incredible. I'll never forget Greeny on ESPN's Wake Up saying that 3-game stretch that Josh Allen had was maybe the best 3-game stretch of any quarterback he's ever seen play ever. Like this right now feels like a good time to start that 2025 stretch between coming off a bye and having Kansas City coming up next week in Orchard Park. You really want to start hitting on all cylinders. So those are my 3 keys right now. Again, not letting Carolina have first down success, getting the Bills running backs involved in the passing game, and Josh Allen just getting back to being far and away the superior quarterback on the football field. All right, 5 bowl predictions. I'll fly through these relatively quick. Number 1, I've spent way too much time today, yesterday, and plenty over the last 10 days talking about Ty Johnson to not have him score a touchdown. So bowl prediction number 1, Ty Johnson, anytime touchdown. Prediction number 2, no Bills corner. And this is not a fun stat at all, but we're 6 games in. Not one Buffalo Bills cornerback has an interception this season. I'm predicting that changes on Sunday. So a Bills cornerback is going to have an interception. It doesn't sound bold on its surface, but again, when you go 6 games without having one, maybe it is. That's number 2. Number 3, spent a lot of time this week. We'll call it critically objective. Maybe some people wouldn't say objective, critical conversations about Keon Coleman, and I'm still not sold by any means, but he is overdue to make a significant play in a game. I think it's coming this week. So I'm going to give Keon Coleman at least a 30-yard catch in this football game. So that's 3. Number 4, the Bills are getting back. Didn't mention this earlier. Maybe I should have, but Michael Hoyt, Larry Ogunjobi are both back from their suspension. Coming at a good time, especially with Ogunjobi with DaQuan Jones hurt. But both those guys are back. One of those guys, at least one of those guys, is going to get a sack in this football game. And then last but not least, the Bills have had, and this has been really freaking annoying of late, the Bills have had at least 8 penalties or more in 3 straight weeks. They've had 11, 11, and 8 over the last 3 weeks. Terrible, undisciplined football, no doubt about it. My bold prediction is the Bills are going to have 4 penalties or less in this game. They're going to get back off this bye to some better, more disciplined play, especially the pre-snap shit, illegal formation, offside, stuff like that. They're going to play more disciplined. So there you go. Ty Johnson, anytime touchdown. A Bills corner is going to have an interception, 30-yard or more catch for Keon Coleman. One of the returnees, Hoyt or Ogunjobi, is going to get a sack, and the Bills are going to have 4 or less penalties. All right, let's get to a prediction here to wrap this up. A lot of negativity everywhere about the Bills recently. I got to be honest with you, man. I've been taken back. I would expect it from me. For me to overreact, for me to have hyperbole, not surprising. But it has been a pretty negative last couple weeks. You know, the 2 losses and then the bye week to really let it just sit there and simmer and compound. It's been rough, man. You would think the Bills right now were on the verge of missing the playoffs the way people are talking about this team. And I get it to an extent. I do. Again, I'm as critical at times as anybody, but some of it's earned. I think some of it, though, is just straight up overreaction. Like, this team's not panicked. I can tell you that right now. So I think for this week, all the worry, the negativity about the Bills, I think it's going to get squashed. Lots of worry that the Buffalo Bills are already looking forward to Kansas City here in Orchard Park next Sunday, and that Carolina is a dangerous football team that's won 3 in a row, and that beat Atlanta 30-0. Honestly, I don't buy it. I don't buy either. This team has not played well enough to look past anyone before the Chiefs game. Let's just start there. They're coming off a bye. They've had that nasty taste in their mouth from that Atlanta game that they know Atlanta tried to give them that game, and the Bills just would not accept the Atlanta gifts. Keep thinking about that drop pick, probable pick 6 from Shaq Thompson. I mean, Atlanta did so many things to give the Bills an opportunity, and the Bills just couldn't cash in. That is probably eating away at them. So I don't care if they're playing Carolina or Appalachian State this Sunday. I bet you this is a hungry football team, and I suspect they're desperate to have a good showing. If for no other reason, if it's not to shove it in the critics' face, the haters' face, it's just so that they can feel good about themselves with a good showing. Carolina's not the bums we thought they were going to be back in April or May. I'll admit that. No question about it. But I just don't consider them that dangerous. I really don't. The Bills ain't looking past Carolina, but I am. I think the Panthers are a significantly inferior team from top to bottom. And for once, I think the Bills are actually going to go out and make them look that way. So I'm going Bills 33, Carolina 16. So a 3-score win for the Bills. Obviously, that has them covering the spread. 33-16 Buffalo this Sunday. Win or lose, I will be live with our next show Sunday night. Joe from Queens and I will talk about the good, the bad, the ugly of this game. It's a Sunday 1 p.m. game, so I'm sure you guys will go check out other content, other Bills shows. You'll have plenty of time to do that, but make sure you're still around. You park it in 9 p.m. Joe from Queens and I will have plenty of live reaction right after this game. All right, folks, I am going to get back to the rest of my binge. Again, let me know what you're into, man. Let me know what you like. You got a show out there? You want to recommend something for me to check out and have a review on? Let me know. But besides that, enjoy your weekend. Hopefully the Bills have a good showing, and we will be back on the video side live Sunday night, of course, with a Monday podcast. Talk to you guys then.